Okay, welcome to lesson 3.4. And in this lesson, we're going to take a look at multiplying a decimal less than 1 by a whole number. So when you multiply numbers which are less than 1 by another number, what ends up happening is that they get smaller. So let's take a look at why that happens. Let's take a look, and I want you to go through and fill out this chart for yourself here. So go down and go 5 times 10, 5 times 9, and you'll notice that we're decreasing what we multiply here from 10 through 1. And you can see that what's happening here is 5 times 10 is 50, 5 times 9 is 45, right? So the pattern, as what you're multiplying gets smaller, the actual number, your product, also gets smaller. But we stopped at 5 times 1. Well, what happens when we go below 5.1 and we start going into the decimals? Well, you can see here what pattern you see. The product is also decreasing. Now, we know that 5 times 1 is 5. But look what happens when we start multiplying by 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. This is less than 1. So 5 times 0.9 is 4.5. 5 times 0.8 is 4. You notice that this product this time is actually less than what we started with. Okay? So when you're multiplying a whole number by a number less than 1, the product is always going to be less than the number you started with. Okay? To make it larger than the number you started with, you have to multiply by a number greater than the 5. All right? Now we're going to use this in multiplying by our decimals. So let's take a look at some simple patterns first. Use your calculator to find these products. So pause the recording and fill out this chart. Okay, so here we go. This is what you should have gotten. 20 times 0.1 becomes 2. Now remember, this is actually 1/10. So if you have 20 times 1, what you're asking for is 1/10 of 20. And that makes sense because 2 times 10 gives me 20. So 20 times 1/10 would give me 2. Same thing, 1/10 of 19 gives me 1.9. 1/10 of 18 gives me 1.8, all the way down. Okay, so now let's take a look at what happens when you multiply by 1/100th. So taking a look at this, 20 times 0.01, or 100th, takes 100th of 20, and that's 0.2. And you can also see what happens here. As this number gets closer and closer to 0, this number also gets smaller and smaller. So your product gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay? Let's take a look and multiply by thousands. And you should see the same pattern taking place here. 20 times 1,000th PHS gives me 0.02, or 200ths. And you can see the same thing's happening here. All three of these cause the same thing. The number times the factor which is less than 1 gives me a smaller number. This is an even smaller number being multiplied. That's even smaller. This was 2 up here. Now we're down to 0.2. When I go down by thousands, I get 0.02. So as this decreases, the overall product also decreases. Okay, so now we know what's supposed to happen. You should have noticed that when you multiply a whole number by a decimal less than 1, the product, which is the result of multiplication, has the same number of digits to the right of the decimal, but is smaller. Okay? Now, let's take a look at placing decimals. All right? If you take a look here, you should notice something. I've got 1, 2, 3 digits to the right of the decimal. When you multiply a whole number, by a number that has 3 digits to the right of the decimal, your answer has to also have 3 digits to the right. So if I'm correct, if I put the decimal right here, that's 1, 2, 3. So I should have the decimal appear right there. In fact, there it is. So I've got 0.003, which is 3 thousandths THS, times 5 gives me 15 thousandths. All right. 2 100ths times 13, you got 2 here, so that means you should have 2 in your answer. If you got 3 here, you have to have 3 digits in your answer. If you have 1 here, you should have 1 in your answer. And you have 3 here, so you should have, now be careful, this one here is going to actually, I've actually put in more digits here. You have to do a bit of work here. 1 times 3 is 3, so 101 thousandths times 3 would be 303 thousandths. So you have to take a look. This is where the decimal is going to be in front of the 3 there. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to have to put away your calculator and do it the long way. All right? Remember, this is the way I want you to do it. So we're going to start out with 0.254 times 6. Now when you start multiplying decimals, the first thing you need to do is forget about the decimal. You're going to multiply 254 times 6. All right. Now you should be able to do this now without any difficulty. So pause the recording and multiply 254 times 6. And if you can't do that, go back to the beginning of the video, go back to the last lesson where we multiplied by numbers and decimals, and redo that lesson so you can figure out how to do this. Okay, so pause the recording and do 254 times 6. All right, 6 times 4 is 24. Put down the 4, carry the 2. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 2 is 32. Put down the 3, carry the 5. And 6 times 12, I got that wrong. 3, carry the 3. 6 times 2 is 12, and 3 is 15. So you have 1524. So now I'm going to put the decimal in place. Notice that there's 1, 2, 3 digits to the right of the decimal. So in my answer, I have to have 3 digits to the right of my decimal. Okay? So this is going to be 1.524. All right, there's 3 digits to the right of the decimal. So in 0.254, that's right up here. That means in your answer, you have to have 3 digits in your answer here, which is your product. All right, so 3 here, 3 here. That's how you do it. Now you can also do it by estimating. This is 2/10 times 6, which gives you about 1.2. So the decimal would be between the first 2 non-zero digits, or right here. So you can do it either way. I find that counting the decimals is easier. All right, let's move on. Okay, so 0.17 times 5. Pause the recording and multiply 17 by 5. All right. Well, 17 times 5, you should have got 85, because 5 times 7 is 35. Put down the 5, carry the 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 3 gives me an 8. Now, if you take a look, you get 2 here, 2 digits to the right of the decimal. That means in your answer, you have to have 2 digits to the right of the decimal. That means the decimal's got to be right in front of that 8. So there you go, 0.85. And this is just writing it down so you can understand 2 digits to the right of the decimal and 0.17. So you need 2 digits in your product. Okay. All right, here we go. A little bit more digits to the right. So let's take a look. First thing I need you to do is to multiply 248 by 3. So forget about all this decimals up front here and just multiply everything by 3. So pause the recording and do that. All right, so here we go. You should have gotten 744. Now, you'll notice I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. All right, so there's 7 digits to the right of the decimal in the question. So I need to have 7 in my product. So I'm going to start here where the decimal is. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. That'll get me to the front of the 7, but I've got to get to 7. So I'm going to start adding zeros in front of it until I can get 7. So this will be 0, 0, 0, 0. So this is what this looks like. You'll notice that here's where the decimal was behind the last 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so you add decimals to zeros to the left until you can get the correct number of decimals, or digits to the right of the decimal. All right, 0.0048 times 8. So pause the recording and calculate that. All right, so you should got 384. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 digits to the right of the decimal. So you have to have 4 to the right of your decimal in your answer. So if you take a look here, I've got 384. 1, 2, 3, 4. So your answer is 0.0384. Or incorrectly rating it, this would be 384. And you've got tenths, hundreds, thousands, 100,000. So it would be 384 100,000 THS. All right, moving on to the next one. Bob is creating a banner for his birthday. He can buy paper in packages of 0.75 meters in length. He has purchased 8 packages. So how long is this banner going to be? So first thing you need to realize is you should be able to understand from this that we're going to be multiplying 8 times 0.75 because I have 8 of these 0.75s. So that's what I want you to do now. So take 8 and 0.75 and calculate their product. Okay, so you should have gotten 600. But if you just use 600, that's 600 meters. That's a long ways, considering 1,000 is a kilometer. So it obviously can't be left to 600. If you look up here, you've got 2 digits to the right of the decimal. So in our answer, I have to have 2 digits to the right of the decimal. So that means I'm going to have to put the decimal right after the 6. And that means that Bob will be able to make a banner which is 6.00, or just 6 meters long. Okay, next problem. Bob noticed that his fruit drink has 0.004 grams of vitamin C per glass. If he has 1 glass per day, how many grams of vitamin C will he get? All right, now remember, when you multiply, the first thing you're going to do is forget about the decimals, just going to multiply the 4 by the 7. Now you should be able to do 4 times 7 without any difficulty because that's in your timetables. All right, now you notice I've got 1, to 3 digits here to the right of the decimal. So I've got to have 3 digits to the right of the decimal in your product. So that means this is going to have to be 1, 2, 3. All right. So Bob will get 0.028 grams of vitamin C. Okay, if you have any trouble, let me know. Come and see me, or you can watch the video again, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.